So, remarkable speaker, I guess has been the first to go back and screw this up and go set the standard. Well, first of all, Erick, I am a consultant with Cornerstone On Demand. I'm a talent management consultant in healthcare work. So working with healthcare clients on the talent management strategy, that's the talent management. So this is a very, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm also on the ballot November 8th. If you're in my district, vote for me. If not, we'll talk about it. But I've been very aggressive in the last couple of years in pushing forward some hope legislation and some other things to get technical colleges more affordable. So this is really a good topic for me. But if you live in Cobb County and look for somebody to vote for November 8th, Erick. And I won't talk about that because that's toxic right now. Now, the first thing I learned about being a remarkable speaker is that you can't walk around all the tables and hear all the remarkable comments. So what I did was I kind of went around and the thoughts that I'm going to share, the comments I'm going to share, I can tell you are not my own. These are things that I heard. I think some of them are very provocative, which is good. Because it will lead to some thought, and Paul's going to talk later about what we're going to do with some of these comments. But I'm also going to start off with a very short story about myself, and I think it's very relevant to this topic. So coming out of high school, I decided I wanted to go to Vanderbilt University like my mother. I lived in Nashville, born and raised in Nashville. So went to Vanderbilt University. After one semester, I went to my father and said, you know what, I want to change my major. I want to be like Mom, I want to be a teacher. He said, well, you ain't staying at Vanderbilt. Because he quickly understood that ROI, paying for Vanderbilt education and going to a classroom with a teacher, was not the smartest thing. So he sent me over to Volunteer State Community College. I went there 2 years, got a degree in secondary education, and realized I really don't want to be a teacher. So just think about how much money was saved in my family by having a realistic conversation about college and student debt, and not just the fact that you're going to school because it's the next thing to do. But you need to be reasonable about what you want to do in life, and then we'll fund that. And I eventually ended up back outside of community college and went into a community college at Belmont University right around the corner from Vanderbilt and finished up there. So I think this is a very relevant conversation. And a lot of people get stuck in that trap, going to school, majoring in something, spending 4 to 6 years, going into a career they can't pay back that student debt. So I listed in a very jumbled way, the top 10 or 11 things that I heard. The first one, which was kind of universal at all the tables, was the fundamental question of why does it have to be 4 years to get a college degree? So there's a lot of conversation around that. And one table really talked about tailoring programs to the outcomes. And I know as business leaders, we always talk about outcomes. But if you know that this is the career a young person wants to go into, why is the degree shoved into a 4-year window when this specialty may take 2.5, or it may take 5? Or really having some flexibility around that. Also talked about there was some conversations around schools making the student a consumer more so than someone there to learn. I think that may feed into it as well. So take that as you will. The other thing, the arrows are drawn up. What was the third point? All right, more vocational education in high schools. I thought that was a very interesting conversation about a lot of things that, I think we can all agree that there are instances where 12 years should be enough of school to be able to go out and make a living. It shouldn't have to be 16. And I think that was talked about at quite a few tables as well. It's kind of how we just push people to that next step. Also heard one table talk about more service opportunities for young people to leave high school and then go out and do service or internships and try to figure out what they want to do before taking on the investment of college. Co-op programs, which require significant corporate involvement. And I think we moved a lot away from that. Having people kind of be a student share, where you're spending part of the time in school, part of the time in the workplace. And then, how do you finance shooting for the stars? How do we've created a culture where you tell people you can be anything you want to be, but don't really talk about, how do you finance that and make that a reality? And I think this table will talk about Disney. and blame Disney for that. Every time that commercial comes on, Dream Big Princess, my daughter's sitting there staring and grinning. That's going to cost money to Dream Big. So how do you finance that? The other, government-backed student loans. I thought that was an interesting conversation where, you know, we know what government-backed anything into the housing market, so government-backed student loans. I think that was a very interesting conversation about, you know, how easy is it to get student debt because there's really very limited risk for banking institutions or anyone else to go out and give these loans. So when you have no risk, you have a lot of a push to those products. So is student loan debt almost productized by financial institutions to push on people? And the last one I have on here, college. College being a way to prove generational progress. I thought that was an interesting, yeah, a lot of moves on that. Yeah, that was kind of the aha moment. You know. College education being a way to prove generational progress. I want to be better than the last generation. I want to move forward. How do we, you know, at some point, when does that get, you know, fall on itself? Because, you know, if your father is a neurosurgeon and a rocket scientist, you know, how do you one up that? I think that's a realistic, you know, there's the social pressures.
First surgeon on Mars.
The social pressures on that are good. So the one thing I thought would be interesting to know out of listening to all of this, and I just kind of wrote this in my own note, it would be interesting to know and really get some data on how much loan debt for a student is actually spent on education and not living or other expenses.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure someone has studied this somewhere. And I would love to really look at that as we talk about student debt. How much of that goes toward, because I know personally when I took out student loans, not all of it went to books and education. And I know I'm not alone in that. So it'd be really interesting to see how much of a debt a person is carrying are things that should have been paid for through normal living, you know, working and or money from parents or family and things like that, instead of taking out these loans for living expenses, where now you're financing your college apartment over 60 years. The standard of living, yeah, absolutely. So I think that would be very, very interesting as well. I saw a hand. Do I take questions?
Just a quick comment. USA Today had an article this week with some of that, and 3% went to vacations. They had broken down into some very
That's low.
granular points.
Well, spring break.
Spring break, yeah. You gotta
Get to the
spring. You gotta have a spring break expense. And you know, I talked to someone a couple of weeks ago that was a medical student who went to medical college, got all the way to graduation, but could not pass the final exams to get into residency. And now this young lady is carrying $300,000 of student debt. And the prospect of being a practicing physician is all but evaporated. And how do you now, I'm sorry, as a politician, you always got to tell anecdotal stories. But how do you, tell someone like that, good luck, and you got to now enter the job market. There are very few opportunities for this person to now pay back that $300,000 of student debt, not being able to go into a practicing physician. And one of the things she said to me is, I think there were signs early on that I wouldn't be successful with this, but no one in the school was willing to tell me. And those are the kind of things I think that play into some of these conversations that I heard at the table about having realistic conversations about debt, about your career, being able to match kids not only to the right school, but to the right programs with the right financing options available to them. So that's my insertion of the story, but